The wind is one of the best sources of energy for many reasons. Number one, wind is renewable because you don't run out of wind, it's always there when you need it. Number two, wind is a clean energy source as you do not produce harmful byproducts like greenhouse gases that cause problems for the environment, unlike coal-fired plants or nuclear power plants. However, as great as wind energy is, it's not perfect. These drawbacks are why in this video we will tell you about another method of producing power from the wind that does not involve large blades. Join us as we explore the insane future of solid-state wind energy. Power production is an excellent place to start for any government that is serious about eliminating or reducing carbon emissions. This is especially true of industrialized nations that require many gigawatts of energy to keep their economy running. As such, making electricity with wind turbines is becoming popular. It helps to reduce dependence on hydrocarbons and does not produce carbon emissions. According to statistics, wind turbines produce a total of 743 gigawatts globally. Last year alone, 93 gigawatts of wind power projects were added. With more countries starting wind projects, traditional coal-powered plants are shutting down, increasing the clean, renewable energy share in the global energy mix. It also means cleaner air for you and me to breathe. Wind power, however, has some downsides. The biggest is costs, as they're capital-intensive. For struggling nations, the high upfront costs may be a barrier as the bill may come to anywhere from $1.3 million per megawatt to $2.2 million per megawatt. Such power projects often leave these nations indebted to wealthier countries that are offered to build on loans. It is also expensive to domesticate wind power because it does not scale down well, unlike solar power. Home-scale turbines cost between $3,000 per kilowatt and $8,000 per kilowatt. A 10-kilowatt installation may cost you between $50,000 and $80,000. Apart from the cost, wind turbine installations are a problem for wildlife. Birds are vulnerable to the giant blades as they can fly into them and get sliced into two. In the US alone, more than 500,000 birds are killed by wind turbines yearly. This figure includes endangered species that have low rates of reproduction. Granted, birds die more from other sources like stray cats or even high-tension power lines, but the truth is wind turbines kill birds in large numbers. Space is also an issue with wind turbines. Due to the large sizes of the blades, the turbines have to be placed far apart. This requirement makes a wind farm occupy a large surface area. Also, because of the condition to site wind farms far from the closest habitation to prevent noise pollution, prime tracts of land might end up lying unused. And on the mechanical side of things, wind turbines require serious maintenance due to many moving parts like gearboxes that will wear out and need to be replaced or serviced. Engineers have to keep up a maintenance routine that costs human resources and money. These drawbacks are why researchers looking for ways to improve wind power production have developed solid-state wind energy and other methods that do not need large blades and do not cover large expanses of land. The most significant difference between a typical wind turbine and a solid-state wind energy generator or bladeless wind generation is that the latter does not have any moving parts. If the system does, the moving parts are minimal and enclosed. Yes, you heard that right. Solid-state wind energy generators have no swiveling blades or have tiny ones. So you usually won't find a gearbox, moving blades, shafts, or generator on a solid-state wind energy generator. How does a bladeless solid-state wind energy generator work? There are several implementations of solid-state wind energy generators, and we will look at a few. The concept is quite simple, despite how improbable it sounds. The first one is called Ewicon, and scientists developed it in the Netherlands. Ewicon means electrostatic wind energy converter. Here's how it works. Ewicon uses the wind to produce charged particles that flow through the air. The charged particles are then tapped to make electricity. The charged particles come from ordinary water droplets that carry a positive charge. The electricity tapped can then be sent to the grid. There is a prototype at the Delft University of Technology campus in the Netherlands. As you can imagine, if the water in the Ewicon can't move, the system cannot produce electricity. This impediment means Ewicon can't work in the winter when water freezes up. Also, running pipes of water may not be that neat. There is a way to avoid using water in solid-state wind energy generators. In his own concept, Richard Epstein used ionic currents instead of water droplets to carry the charge. He calls his method the solid-state wind energy transformer, or SWET. However, the process of using ionic currents to produce electricity is called electrohydrodynamics. In the prototype, Richard fixes 55 aluminium wires parallel to one another between two wooden posts that stand 8 meters apart. Each pole is about 8.5 meters tall, so you can imagine how large the installation is. The aluminium wires are insulated from the two poles. Now, those aluminium wires are in two categories: the attractors and the emitters. The attractors are ordinary plain wires, while the emitters have tiny 7-micrometer thick carbon fibers glued at 15-centimeter intervals. Epstein then passes small negative currents through the emitter wires, producing a corona discharge at the carbon fibers. This step releases negative ions into the air. This point is where the wind comes in again, as it will carry the negative ions away, leaving the whole setup with a positive charge. Electrons will then flow to the ground from where they can be tapped. Epstein's prototype produces only 0.05 watts, but it proves the process works. Now, when you walk up to a wind turbine, the first thing that strikes you is the size of the mast and blades. The blades can be up to 170 meters tall. But how about a portable but efficient wind turbine that you can fix on your roof or fence? These kinds of wind turbines will work well in cities where open spaces are not available. You can even pair them with other renewable sources like solar panels. This is what the PowerPod is all about. Halcyon, a Utah startup, is behind the PowerPod. It actually has blades, but they are concealed in a shell, which means your kids, pets, even wild birds are safe. The way the PowerPod is shaped allows it to work with the wind coming from any direction. Compared to a similarly sized wind turbine, the PowerPod will produce 3 times more power. This is because the PowerPod has funnels that suck up the wind and accelerate it by passing it through a smaller hole before it touches the turbine blades. At that point, the wind speed would be 40% faster. Compared to solar panels, portable turbines like the PowerPod can produce more power as they work even after the sun has gone down, on rainy or cloudy days, and throughout the year. You can't buy the PowerPod yet, but it should be available by the end of 2021. These methods of using the wind to produce energy without using large blades promise to be cheaper. For one, they do not require the amount of space conventional wind turbines need, as they can be stacked closer to one another. They're also cheaper to run, as they're easier to maintain. Like electric vehicles, solid-state wind energy systems have little or no moving parts, which means fewer parts to wear out and maintain. This is elementary engineering, as the lesser the number of moving parts, the higher the reliability and the lower the maintenance cost. For this fact, solid-state wind energy generators compare favorably with solar panels that can work for years with no maintenance required. Solid-state wind energy generators do not require high startup costs, making them attractive financially. They can be deployed for residential applications, as they do not need scale to be viable. Let us know what you think of solid-state wind energy production in the comments.